Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I am trying to hit 100k subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated. Also check out episode 11 of my NBA series, going over the second round of the playoffs if you have not already. But with that, let's get into the hot takes. The Nuggets don't need Murray. They got MPJ and Jokic. They need a Mike Conley type player. Murray is just riding off of the bubble playoffs. Well, first of all, Murray was fantastic after the bubble playoffs, but second of all, I don't know that there is like that huge of a difference between Jamal Murray and Mike Conley. Mike is a better defender and more of a playmaker, but Murray is also a guy who's going to get you 20 a game. He's not a bad defender either. He was earlier in his career, but he's not really anymore. I don't see why would you, like, sure, you could argue that their offense is good without him as well, but like it's extra good with him. Not having a guy of Jamal Murray's talent level makes you a worse team, even if to an extent there are elements of his game that are a tad redundant. At the end of the day, firepower is important to have. So don't see that one at all. The Suns make it back to the finals and should be the clear-cut favorite to win the West. The Bulls are a dark horse finals appearance contender, I guess. I don't think the Suns are making the finals. In fact, I would say they are third in my teams in the West. Like, I would pick the healthy Nuggets over the Suns, as I would the Lakers, so I disagree with that. And as much as I wish this was true, I would be shocked if the Bulls made the finals, because that would require beating one of the Nets or the Bucks. Even the Heat, like, no, I don't think that's happening. Would love to be wrong. Trust me. If the Timberwolves trade for Ben Simmons, they are a top 5 seed in the West. Now, I don't know about top 5 seed, but I will say if they trade for Ben Simmons and they manage to keep D'Angelo Russell in the process, they end up shipping Malik Beasley instead. I'm confident that is a playoff team in the West. It might be as like the 8th seed, but at the end of the day, that's a playoff team, presuming the health is not just disastrously bad. Magic is the greatest offensive player ever. He is the greatest playmaker ever, while probably being the best engine, making offense a cakewalk for his team, and during his peak years, he was a very good scorer. Couple of things here. First of all, very good. I don't know. I guess he's definitely not an elite scorer. He was a good scorer, probably very good. It depends on, it's semantics. He was a good scorer. He's a 20-point per game guy. At his peak, like a 24-point per game guy. All of this on good efficiency. And his jump shot improved as his career went along. In terms of his being the greatest playmaker ever, I would agree with that sentiment for the most part. Best engine, he's definitely up there. What I will say that's really, I think the best offensive engine and the greatest offensive player ever is Steph Curry. So I wouldn't say he's the best engine. But what I will say about Magic that is often undermentioned, what is interesting about Magic is that he is... Well, maybe you could give it to LeBron. I think LeBron does enough off-ball stuff that this would not be an accurate description. Magic Johnson at his peak is single-handedly the best heliocentric offensive player that there has ever been, simply because the amount of on-ball activity that he does, like how much he is on the ball and how much that is dictating the offense. The fact that the guy was like averaging 13 assists per game and that didn't come to a detriment of his team, as it has for so many other players throughout history, as I've made a video about that a long time ago, but like double-digit assists, averaging that, it's literally been Magic Johnson and then LeBron in 2020. That's the only time a player has averaged double-digit assists in the regular season, and then that team proceeded to win the championship. That's why I have a huge bias against true point guards, all that stuff. Magic is the complete outlier, the complete exception to the rule, because he did that 5 times. I'm pretty sure he averaged double-digit assists every year that he won this championship. So, to that extent, there should be more credit given to Magic Johnson for the fact that a type of game that usually comes with detriments and setbacks, he avoided that. And no other player can really say that. You can look at LeBron and say, I don't know, it depends how much you think LeBron is an off-ball player. I don't know. It's interesting. But it's either him or Magic Johnson, and being in the conversation with LeBron is definitely putting you somewhere in there. But that's also a very specific category. So, for what that's worth. Harden is better than Kevin Durant, and it's a hill that I'm willing to die on. Thank you for saying that from the account. Harden is better than Kevin Durant. Well, speaking of heliocentric, ironically, here's James Harden. I will say, from a team offense functionality, absolutely, I think James Harden matters more to an overall team offense. From an individual creating standpoint, I would definitely give that to Kevin Durant, so there is that factor. But I think it's pretty close regardless. I go back and forth. For the most part, I lean towards Kevin Durant, but I've also had moments where I'm like, James Harden's like kind of the best player here. I don't know. It's like, you ever have like a thing that's like, my brain is telling me this, but I feel like it's wrong, but like it keeps telling me this. That's kind of how I am about the James Harden is better than Kevin Durant thing, where I'm like, I don't think that's right, but I think it though, you know? No one knows. I don't know. I think either way, it's semantics and it doesn't really matter that much as long as the two are playing whatever. But regardless, both are. I think it's close. I think it's closer than some people might be willing to admit. Hey, I didn't mean to do 2 James Harden takes back to back, but here it is. James Harden is the most overhated player in the league. He had to play arguably the greatest team of all time and nearly won. He has been unlucky. Absolutely true. I mean, there are earlier moments in his career that you can blame a lack of playoff success on him, but for the most part, playoff shortcomings, especially in the era of the Kevin Durant Warriors, was not really his fault. And 2018, the fact that they came like not having historically bad shooting night away from beating that team, that is incredible. And should not be viewed as a negative on James Harden as it often is. The Celtics are contenders and definitely could win the East, maybe the title. I mean, they're like in the B tier of there's no the S tier and then the A tier. I don't fucking know. They're a contender tier where I'm like, yeah, that team could win the championship, but they're definitely not the top of the top. I will say though, the Celtics generally are pretty underrated because Dennis Schroeder is not like a notably worse point guard than Kemba Walker. He's like definitely worse than what Kemba was last year, but like barely. And then they brought in Al Horford. That now means that whether it's Al or Robert starting, that means they now have one of the best backup centers in the league. Aaron Nesmith, I think, is going to take strides and be a real rotation player. And Romeo Langford could potentially be healthy and do some stuff. Marcus Smart, hopefully having a bounce back year because last year his defense and all that kind of stuff was a little bit down. I definitely think the Celtics have what it takes to be a pretty fucking good team next year. Cold take, Rusty has a dope beard. You know, I wish this take were indeed true, but very patchy on the cheeks. Weirdly have a bald spot on my mustache that I don't love, and I have a beard that has like 7 different hair colors in it, which is really, really fucking annoying. But I disagree, but I appreciate the compliment nonetheless. Zach LaVine is a dark horse to win MVP. I've heard this a couple of times. This particular situation, like this will end up being something that I maybe even make a video about, but like I think there's something to be said that you can have an MVP level resume for a season where it's like, hey, put up these numbers. My team was really good. I was the best player on the team. But you don't really get into the conversation because people know that you're not like that guy, at least in the regular season. Like, for example, last year I made a bold prediction video. It might have been 2 years ago, but it was that Donovan Mitchell would be an MVP candidate. And then last year, Donovan Mitchell, I believe the Jazz, I don't know what their official win percentage was, but I think it was like definitely on pace to win like 65 games in a regular 82 game season. Donovan Mitchell averaged like 26 points on good efficiency last year while having the best playmaking season of his career. Not a peep in an MVP conversation. And the thing is, the Bulls are not going to be that good, and even if they were, Zach LaVine will average like 25 points per game on good efficiency, like 4 or 5 assists and rebounds. He's just not a superstar. And when the voters and stuff know that you're not a superstar, you're really not going to get serious buzz for the award. Donovan Mitchell is a superstar in the playoffs, but we're talking about a regular season award here. So, yeah, I think that will be what holds him back there. Giannis is going to be the second player in NBA history to win back-to-back rings without another All-Star. Well, first of all, it's like I really don't care about all-star selections in terms of indicating how good a player is. Both Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are star-level talents. And in terms of one of those guys making an all-star team, I am pretty confident that Chris Middleton is going to make an all-star team this season, especially because this postseason has just made people respect him more and appreciate him more. I expect just because he's not really under the radar anymore, his odds of making an all-star team are definitely significantly higher. But yeah, that is Hot Takes. Goodbye.